Hello, everyone. Welcome to the February 28th League of Legends DFS Esport breakdown. Maybe some bets sometimes. I do want to try to incorporate a little bit more betting talks. I think there are some uh, edges, or there. I think there's profit to be had there. I typically don't aim for that. I'm mainly just aiming for DFS, since for the most part, how I make most of my money is through positive EV betting through just general sports. And I think there's rarely an edge to be gained um, in general, like betting in esports at the moment. Although, um, I don't know, it's tough because on one hand, I think it is like a fresher market, underutilized market, where it's not as refined and the lines could be off. Like I think yesterday when we had V5 as an underdog against LNG, I think that was just a straight up egregious bad line, and I think there was definitely money to be made there. I think similarly with Thundertalk FPX, I thought maybe uh, taking like a spread on the kills or taking the money line, all that, like that kind of stuff. I feel like there are things to be had there. There just isn't math behind it, and it's a lot more like emotion and thoughts based, and that's typically how I try to avoid my betting. When I do straight up betting, I like to have it mathematically profitable. Um, Maybe I can make videos about that at some point. But it's tough because you need to be in a legalized sports betting state, most likely, with a lot of sports betting options. That's kind of how you have to be profitable sports betting long term. So I don't know, if you guys let me know that you're interested in that stuff, I can make videos about that, not necessarily esports related. um, but we can try to look at those stuff. The problem is these videos are already long enough, just because of me rambling. So adding stuff like that might make them a little bit too long. But I don't know. Maybe if we just have long videos and I add timestamps in there so people can get the information that they want, that could be an option. I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. See what everyone's thinking. So let me know if you guys have any leans on what you want to see, what you don't want to see, that kind of stuff. Um, I would appreciate it. So tonight we only have an LPL two gamer. We typically don't do two gamers, or at least I don't. I try to avoid them just because they are pretty random, and um, so it was weird. I was bringing up the lineups, and I noticed that they had written in BB View Shie Shanks, and I just thought, did they really put Shanks ADC? But no, it looks like they just kind of mistyped that. They do have View coming back in. I don't know. We'll talk about this one thing at a time. Um, I kind of forgot where I was going earlier. Yeah, I don't even remember what I was saying. Um, but we can just get into recapping yesterday. Again, we had a really good day yesterday. We were kind of on a negative skid, and yesterday will definitely help redeem that a good bit. We went 3-0 across the LPL. We were the huge plus 475 underdog in Thunder Talk, so we cashed that. I had a small money line bet on TT. Wasn't earth shattering, but I just thought the line was weird, so I took them, and worked out pretty well. Obviously, plus 475 is a pretty large number. Um, yeah, then we were on V5, who was lined as the underdog. I thought that was pretty weird. Um, I don't remember if I even talked about the LCK yesterday, but I did like Nong Shim and Genji, and I believe they both got the job done. So a 5-0 sweep, I think, across the board in League of Legends last night. So nice to have a good, solid comeback day like that. Um, that's a notch in the belt of when you just kind of go with your head, and you just have to like realize like kind of what's actually happening as opposed to kind of what you're feeling. We saw that V5, they've been beating a lot of other elite teams, um, and LNG hasn't really played other elite teams, so I wasn't sure why LNG was necessarily the favorite. I did think it was going to be close. I thought it was going to be a lot closer than it was. It felt like these games were pretty heavily in the V5 side. Um, Actually, no, I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think these games were actually pretty close. I just feel like Tarzan had a really, really, really poor performance. Overall, he got caught out before objectives a lot. I just think the main thing with V5 is how they're drafting. Um, I want to see who their coaches are because that's something to keep in mind. So it is Nofe. He was who is he coaching? He was the coach of IG, Hanwha. I wonder when does it show his match history here? No, that's from when he was a player. That's something to keep in mind because I'm really 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 impressed with the coaching and strategy and the preparation that the V5 team is having at the moment. It feels like they're really really utilizing their player strengths, what they want to do, how they want to play the game. Like everything just seems really really cohesive and smart. That's something I touched on when I picked V5 over EDG was how they have specific ban plans, and you could definitely tell just by scrolling through their ban history of banning champions that they have a plan and they're going to stick to it throughout the series. I just feel like maybe this is like a little outlandish to say right now, but I think V5 is probably the team to beat in the world right now. It feels like there's no team in the world really separating themselves in terms of, this is the team to beat. Last year, for the most part, it was EDG. Then we had like a period where Dom1 was probably the team to beat. It usually just changes throughout the time. It's tough to say that there's like a team in the world right now that's the team to beat. People will probably say T1, but I think that's probably not true. Maybe because there's only a 2K word today, we can talk about that a little bit. But I think with T1, although they have been playing a lot more proactive and they've been pretty impressive lately, I feel like there's a lot of weak teams in the LCK at the moment. It feels like the only competition that they have is Gen G, who I think is probably better than T1. The problem there is that with the first round robin, when T1 and Gen G played each other, Gen G was having the COVID situation, so they didn't even have like most of their starters, or like half their players weren't playing. So it feels like the only competition that they have, they rolled over. So it looks like they have a super inflated record. I feel like they've even had spots to drop games to teams like KT and Hanwha. Like they've looked pretty shaky against some of the other lower end teams. I think overall, again, we have a 2-gamer today, so I'll put timestamps in the description for if you guys just want to skip ahead to talk about tomorrow's games. But I want to recap a little bit on just like how the leagues are looking as a whole. Some teams I want to point out and stuff. So feel free to skip ahead in the description if you guys just want to get skip straight forward to looking ahead to tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, to quickly finish recapping this stuff, yeah, V5 looked pretty good. I'm super proud of that. These games were a little close. They came down to like Karsa getting a couple smite steals. You could argue that they weren't game defining, or they were, but it's like if Karsa steals the Elder Dragon in game 1, which he does, then they just win there on the spot, which they do. But it's not necessarily like if he doesn't get that steal and they lose. So it's like it's an instant win if he gets it, but it's not a death sentence if they lose. So there was some steals in this series from Karsa. He looked really good. The Skarner was pretty interesting. The Skarner Tom Kench is a super underutilized like combo, especially just with how ADCs are itemizing at the moment. It feels really really bad if your ADC has to take the 1300 gold pit stop and pick up the QSS. Their itemization is already pretty expensive, so it's pretty tough to have to take a good chunk of gold and spend it towards the QSS. It delays their IE power spike pretty significantly. So I like that a lot. Something to look at going forward. But overall, I think both these teams are probably kind of what we expected. V5 is probably the top in the league, maybe the top in the world. LNG is kind of right behind them, but they're looking a little shaky. I think they're probably. I think if I'm LNG, I'm looking at swapping out supports. I don't think Lumao's necessarily been the problem, but I think they just need a spark or something. They just need something, and I believe Iwandi could probably provide that. Iwandi seems like a spark plug type of player where you bring him in and he does make impact. So I would like to see Iwandi have a chance in that game. The second series was BLG JDG. Again, this one kind of went as I expected. It was a little slower pace just because of how BLG played. They kind of sit back, pick their spots more calculated, and JDG are front, like more aggro. I think I don't remember who said it. One of the casters in this BLG match said that they're the most aggressive team in the league. That felt pretty egregious to say, if I'm honest. I don't remember who said it. I don't want to name names and get it wrong because I'm not familiar with many of their names. But I think that's definitely wrong. I think statistically you can look at that and say that's wrong. I think eye test you can look at that and say that's wrong. They definitely are more tactical. They're going to sit back. They're going to pick their spots. Everything they do is going to be calculated. That's why I think they're going to be like not a super elite team. I think the super top teams need to dictate the pace, need to be aggro, need to, kind of. I don't think there's any other word for it other than just set the pace. They need to be front facing. They need to be going forward. They need to be doing something. They need to be pushing leads. And it doesn't feel like BLG do that. They just kind of sit back and let the opponents make mistakes. It's not a bad strategy to do decent in the LPL, but I don't think it's going to help them win much unless they just do it to flawless execution, and it doesn't look like they are. It feels like Weiwei's having a little bit of a problem at the moment. It feels like Weiwei is a player who's wanting to go forward, but his team just doesn't allow him to. So that's a little concerning. I'm still not buying into BLG that heavily still. I just thought this was a good stylistic matchup for them. They got the job done in 3. I was kind of surprised that GDG did take a game off them, but I think that was more so me kind of underestimating JDG a little bit. I still think JDG are a pretty solid team. So we can look at that in the context of the league in a second. TT FPX. This was the TT that I was looking for that they finally brought out. They were super aggressive. They punished the opponents pretty heavily. Gory had a 0-9-4 first game. Like, he looked really, really bad in that one. You could definitely tell that this was a low-level game. Both teams were not ready for it. The FPX was not ready for this. And I think... Again, I want to quote somebody on Twitter whose opinions I respect a lot, Forest Within. You guys probably know him from being a high elo North American jungler. And he's transitioned his knowledge into the sports betting realm as well. So you guys could probably give him a follow. He has a lot of good information. He keeps all of his statistics about his sports betting public as well, which I respect a lot. I think that shows a lot of transparency, which I think is great in this scene. And he was somebody who said this FPX team, he shared the same sentiment that I said yesterday, which was the pressure and the mentality of this FPX team is just in the dumpsters. When they started off really good, they were 4-1. I think they were top 3 in the league, something. I think they definitely looked like a top 5 team. They looked really, really good. You thought, LWX is back. He's being dictated by Beishuan. Jella, who's looking like a minute in the top lane. They had so many things going for them. And then after they started losing, you kind of get that seated doubt. And then it's you have this pressure of people know you're good, but then you start losing, and it's where is this FPX team? Where's their mentality? And of course, people are going to expect a lot from the FPX banner, although obviously people aren't going to expect that much after Doinby left and they kind of renovated the whole roster. Everyone except for LWX is new. So who knows where expectations were, but you just have to imagine that the FPX banner is going to want to expect more. The fans are probably going to want to expect more. And you started off well, now you're just collapsing day in and day out. it's just a super tough space for them mentally. And I think there's something to be said for teams like Thunder Talk, who they were 1-9 I think before this series. Like when you're out of it already, like there's when you're playing risk like carefree, like it obviously does bite them a lot. They get punished quite often. That's how you end up as being a 1-9 team. But I still think when you have that carefree mindset of like you can see in their face cams when they go aggressive and they make mistakes and they get punished and get caught out, they're still laughing in the player cams. I mean, you can kind of interpret that however you want, but I still feel like that can be a positive thing of like we saw an angle, it didn't work out. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be afraid to try it again. I think that's a pretty important thing. So I'm not sure how FPX are going to be valued going forward, but I feel like they maybe will continue to be a little overvalued. They're going to be a team I look to go against, as we continue throughout the season. Thunder Talk, again, I'm still not kind of sure what to make of them. I think that they looked pretty decent through the series. It feels like it's kind of culminating together of what I expected this team to look like. And again, it's just kind of tough because it felt like they had a lot of like mental edges over this FPX team. So I'm not sure how well it's going to translate to other teams like AL, LGD, maybe Ultra Prime, like the other bad teams who kind of are carefree. I'm not sure. We'll just have to look and see. To kind of quickly look at the league as a whole, the records aren't updated, but if I want to call out some teams that I'm liking the trajectory and some of the things that I like going forward, you guys are going to call me crazy a little bit, but I think Team WE and Thunder Talk, I think they're both kind of on the up, like trending upwards. Again, this is something I've said multiple times with the Team WE team, is if you look at who Team WE has played, they've played like every top team. They've played every elite S tier team at the top of the LPL standings. Some middling teams like Team WE has really yet to play any of the other lower end teams. And I think they're kind of coming together. I think Shea is going to be a really large improvement for them. I think the Team WE is going to be a team I wanted to be on a lot going forward, obviously alluding to tonight's slate. I think Thunder Talk, again, they're a team I'm going to like going forward. They continue to improve and get things together with Chieftain and UCal. I think they have solid players. I'm not sure how they're going to look maybe the rest of this year, but I think when they get a good fresh start, starting in spring, I think in summer. I think targeting Thunder Talk at the beginning of 2022 summer split is going to be a really good strategy when we get there. Obviously, looking far in advance, who knows what's going to happen between then? But yeah, teams I'm looking to. I guess is there another team I'm looking to get to be on? I think JDG is a team that their record kind of doesn't represent them. I feel like they're pretty good. Of course, always going to be liking the Anyone's Legend team. I'll probably ride or die with them no matter what. That's kind of it for teams I like, really. I mean, it'll probably just be on maybe OMG. I'll throw OMG in there as well. Their record feels a little bad compared to I think where they are actually. Teams I'm looking to fade. This will probably be a little bit longer of a list. I feel like Weibo, they've shown a lot of inconsistency. I think they're bound to drop some series coming up soon. I don't know who they're playing, but I think there's going to be some losable series for Weibo coming up, and I think they're getting touted like a little bit too hard. So they're a team I'm kind of looking to fade. Not in every situation, but I think they're probably going to be on the fade side for some series coming up. Top esports, again, you guys feel like I'm beating a dead horse here when I'm talking about how bad I think TES is. I still don't necessarily think they're back. Yeah, they've had some, I think they're on a 3-series win streak now, but I feel like they've been pretty fortunate in all of them. I'm just not liking what I see from them necessarily. I'm just not on that band at all. I think if Top Esports play against a real team, they're going to get stomped. Even some middling teams, I don't know if OMG and Top Esports have played, but I think OMG I'd take OMG over Top Esports. BLG over Top Esports. Like, I don't know. I'm just not liking this Top Esports team still, regardless of their win streak. I guess it is now 4 games. Teams I'm looking to fade still. Again, FPX. I kind of just went over this. I think they're definitely sliding down pretty heavily. It seems like it's just going to be a catastrophic collapse, and I'm going to be on the other side of that for them. Yeah, I think that's probably it. I mean, you're going to probably always want to fade these lower end teams, but not always possible, of course. So yeah, I mean, when you look at this, look at the league and how it's shaping up at the moment, we have a lot of teams I think still in this playoff hunt, like the like OMG's in there at 5-7 for a playoff spot. You know, I still think teams like, maybe you could argue like probably AL's maybe still in this playoff hunt. I don't know about IG and Ultra Prime. I'm probably on the lower end of those teams. I'm not a big fan. I'd really hope OMG get in. I feel like they're probably deserving. I'm not sure about this RA team. I think they're on a 4-game win streak. Again, probably on the fade side. Again, alluding to kind of what I'm looking at tonight. So yeah. For the LCK, I'm going to quickly run through it because I feel like this is a pretty boring league altogether. It feels like after T1 and Gen G, everybody's kind of the same. I think you could maybe have an argument that Damwon and DRX are kind of on their own little middling tier. But I think if you have like T1 Gen G at the top, Damwon DRX in like a second tier, it feels like everybody else is in a different tier. I'd personally argue, I think Nongshim is actually in that middle tier. I think Nongshim, their record is super deceptive. I don't think they're worse than Fredit, KT, Live Sandbox, Hanwha. I think they're better than Kwangdong. I think they're better than DRX. Maybe that's close. I'll put that one as like a close one. But I think Nongshim is a top 4, top 5 team. They're currently in 8th place. Obviously, they're going to be a team I like a lot going forward. It feels like they've had COVID stuff going on for like weeks on weeks. They're racking up losses. Again, I think T1 is the most deceptive, like fraudulent 12-0 you've kind of ever seen. Feels like their only competition again is the Gen G team, who when they played head to head had COVID stuff. I think T1 is due for like some letdown spots. I don't know who they're playing or when, you know, what's coming up for them, but I think a team like DRX could beat T1. Let's look and see who T1 play. T1 Gen G, that's one I marked a while ago. If Gen G has plus money in this T1 series, I'm putting my house down on it. I mean, again, I think this is a super fraudulent 12-0 T1. It's going to be a marquee matchup. It's probably going to be a close odds anyway. But if I'm getting a plus money tag on Gen G versus T1, I'm going to be all over it. I mean, we'll talk about that when we get there to that night, March 3rd. But I'm going to be all over that. It looks like the rest of T1's schedule is pretty soft. KT, Kwangdong Bro. I guess maybe there is potential there for the 18 and wait, do they? Oh yeah, there's another week. I was gonna say that doesn't make sense. March 18th and March 20th. These are kind of far out. This is a little hard to kind of talk about, but I think let's say these first 4 games go how I expect them. I think Gen G will beat T1, and then I think T1 should beat KT, Kwangdong, and Bro. That puts them at 15-1. I think Sandbox and DRX have a chance, more so than the rest of these teams. I think we'll have to see how DRX's form continues going forward, but I think if the DRX team that I've seen as of recent could definitely put up a fight with T1. Again, this is super far in advance. It's like nearly a month in advance, so a lot of things could change between then. But early look ahead spots, I like those. I like going against T1 probably going forward. Again, if Gen G has a plus money symbol next to this in this series, I'm going to be so heavy on it, people will probably laugh at me. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of it looking forward. 2 tonight, again, a 2-gamer. I typically don't play them unless I like some spots on it, and I do. I think RA is pretty heavily overvalued in this matchup versus Team WE. Again, there is a slight bit of concern here with Team WE. They're swapping out Beishong for View. I understand that Beishong had a really, really, really bad performance against who did they just play? It was Ultra Prime, right? Oh, I need to stop closing these tabs. I believe Team WE just had a close game, 3-game series, lost to Ultra Prime. Yeah, it was a Team WE Ultra Prime here. So again, them losing to another bad team does concern me. I feel like they were very winnable. Although Beishuang was the problem, he kind of was why I think they lost that series. I still don't think he needed to be benched from it. I felt like it was just a really bad day. So it feels a little tough on Beishuang to get subbed out here. I just have not liked what I've seen from View. We can look at how their records are faring so far. They're obviously both going to be pretty poor. So Beishong is 4-7, and View is 2-12. So obviously both not looking good, but there's definitely a lot more there with Beishong than the 14% they had with View. Maybe they feel like there's something there with View. It feels tough to bench Beishong after one bad series. So that's all. Again, RA I think they've been looking better, but I still feel like there's like a pending implosion with this team. I feel like we've seen them play so bad for a while, and they've picked up a few like more fraudulent wins. We look at RA past couple of weeks. They obviously beat FPX, who again I think is kind of like a fraud team. Beating RNG is pretty decent, but then Thundertalk and LGD wins. Those are like eh. So it feels like they've beaten 3 lower end teams, and RNG pretty good. Especially if you consider a WE to be another lower end team, you would think RA would have the advantage. Again, I do think RA is a deserved favorite, but I feel like this is one where we definitely know RA's ability to throw and lose these games. Like, we've seen iBoy and Leanne get caught out so many times. Like, they definitely have the snowball effect. And I'm just super impressed with most of these WE players individually. I think Bubu versus Cube is going to be close. These are actually two really strong top laners. Shie versus Strive. I think GA looked really good in his first series. I'm pretty excited for them. Then Stan Kadaya versus iBoy and Yuyanja. I think this is kind of a wash. Maybe a slight edge to the RA side, but again, I'm not high on either of these bottom lanes. Again, I would have liked WE a lot more had they just kept Beishong. So that's a little concerning, but I still think they get the job done. I don't know. I just like this time. I like the trajectory of this Team WE team. I feel like their record is deceiving. I feel like RA's record is a little deceiving as well. This is just kind of like a buy low spot on WE and a sell high spot on RA. So I'll just take the underdog side with Team WE. Probably 2-1. You'd have to imagine that it would probably go 3 with these lower end teams, I think. LGD IG. This one is actually pretty interesting as well. One I'm looking forward to getting a grasp on how well these teams are playing. So IG have been on the up and up. They beat JDG, they beat BLG, so 2 like decent middling teams. They lost to EDG in a 2-0. That's not a big deal. They beat RA. They lost to V5 in a 3-game series that was close. So a lot of impressive results since the break. And again, I just think IG have been looking really, really good, honestly. Again, feel a little overrated, but I still think LGD are kind of just that bad. Although LGD have been kind of on the kind of upswing as well. So you look at LGD, they got the win over Thunder Talk. They also went to 3 with V5. They lost to RA and Team WE. So there's like a fair amount of pretty disappointing losses there for LGD. They have been looking better with Jay. I'm not sure like why or what brings that in, but I don't know. This again is like a pretty close matchup. I would say the odds in both of these series are pretty weird. I just wouldn't have RA or IG as like more than like a 250 underdog or something. Like I just feel like they're not that good of teams to be laying that many points. I would expect one of these underdogs to come through. It's going to be tough. I don't know. It's like it's not going to be the greatest of slates, I don't think. we'll look at the DFS stuff in a second, but I just have the lean with the WE side again. Why I've just mentioned, buy low on WE, sell high on RA. I think they're more in between. They're closer. I think this again is a pretty close series. I'm not buying into IG that much. I think LGD have been again looking on the upswing. I would feel a little crazy to just say double underdog it. I don't think that's necessarily out of the question though. Again, we have to take into account this is just an LPL 2-game DFS slate. I don't know. Like I feel like I'm actually kind of low key talking myself just into doing the double underdog. I mean, they're both doing. I mean, I don't know. Let's see. I want to see. This is only Jay's third series, I think, right? So we'll have to. I'm gonna check that real quick and look. Oh no, he's played with the RAV5 and TT. So this is his fourth series now with Jay. I feel like they've been doing a lot better. I don't know. It just feels a little crazy to me to go with the double underdogs tonight. I mean, IG have just been looking too good. All right, I'm not gonna do it. I'll just go with the IG side 2-1. I think again this is still pretty close. WERA I think is still pretty close. I'm gonna go with the WE side for sure. I definitely like them a lot more. I just think we've seen probably more from IG. They've definitely shown more consistency. They've had a lot more impressive series overall. Like these are decent results against solid teams. I think JDG, BLG, V5 close series there as well. So they've just had a lot tougher competition. And when you look at LGD, they've played TT, RA, WE. Like those are just a lot worse, and they're still like equally as close. So I just have to lean with the IG side. I've been more impressed with them, especially with Wink. I think it was only one series they played with Wink, but he looked kind of like right at home with them. I think it's a much better improvement over on. Yeah, it was just the one series they've had with Wink. But I feel like all these players, except for arguably Uakai, has been doing great. The kind of caveat there is that Uakai he's been put on things like TF, Galio, like he's Rise a lot. They're trying to just get him to leave lane and help out the other sides, and I think that's pretty good strategy. I feel like Zika, Shun, Wink, pretty solid carries. They're gonna have a good chance going forward. So I'll just go with my initial lean. What I was thinking earlier. I just feel like there's a lot more quality there with the IG side. And then I think WERA is just a lot closer than it looks. So those will be my picks. We can look at the teams. Oh, this is LCK. LPL Teams. So we have Team WE, Invictus Gaming, Rare Atom, and LGD. So again, I like to set mine just to February. That's post-break, most recent patch. Small, good recent sample size. It looks like IG, LGD. It looks like they're all kind of up there. It looks like the IG LGD series is going to be the bloodier of the two, so probably want to be a little bit heavier on that. But we'll check losses. Who's dying the most in losses? It looks like LGD is by far dying the most in losses. Looks like RA aren't giving up that much. So that's something to keep in mind. So definitely looking like the IG side is the one you want to be heavier on. I'm not sure pricing and stuff. If you can do, I'd imagine you can do an like an RA stack with WE. Yeah, you can build this however you want. So I think with when you have a 2-gamer like this, most people are just going to have the typical like one underdog, one favorite ADC captain. That's probably the most common build in these. So if you just go down to like a mid laner captain or even jungler captain, they're obviously going to hit a lot less often, but I think they're definitely a possibility. Like all it takes is like one team fight where the ADC gets picked early, or they take a skirmish where the ADC isn't there at all. And I think there's just a lot more. There are realms where the mid laners or the junglers get a lot of score. It is kind of tough to ask the junglers to outscore the ADs and the mids, like in a 2v2. But it's definitely a possibility, and it's a pretty good way to get unique. I think there's an argument to be had for an LGD IG game stack. It's looking like the kills are going to be a lot more action packed in that series compared to Team WE and RA. But again, I'm just doing one lineup tonight. I'm just going with the IG Team WE build. I'm not sure what players I'm going to be targeting necessarily, but I don't want to get to a game stack if I'm doing like a lineup or something. I think it's definitely viable if you guys are MMEing. I think even if you're doing like a 3 lineup night, if you want to just do like 2 IG Team WE ones and then have an IG LGD stack, I think it's a fine good strategy. I think when you have an LPL 2 gamer like this, it's definitely probably hits more often than people think. I don't know, maybe I'm just a little crazy there. Unless a team gets a sweep, it's tough. But if both of these games go 3, then it doesn't matter who wins. All that matters is kills. So I think those are definitely viable options, especially with the outlook of how much more IG LGD is looking to be action packed. So that's all. We can look at like spreads and stuff. We can talk about this. It's something I do want to start touching on. Look like Team WE plus 7.5 kills. It is juiced pretty heavily, so I don't love those. I feel like these are decent numbers, but I'm not loving the like minus 125, minus 120 juice. Those seem a little crazy. Over unders 25.5. Let's see if they're 27.5 over here. So those seem fair. Yeah, those seem about normal. Over here we have IG minus 6.5. Those seem fair. Honestly, I'm not loving bets on either side in either one of these, so probably just stay away from the bets for tonight. Yeah. I think that's about it. We can look at players and get out of here. I think we've talked enough for the night. Again, getting this video out kind of late. I guess it is a 2 a.m. start, so we have a little bit more time. But again, February 1st, we'll just look at February. Hope we're in team stats again. LPL players, we'll do, again, just probably through February. I think that's a good sample. Teams, Invictus Gaming, Team WE. Participation, so it's definitely like Shie, Stay, Kadaya. Team WE is looking much better. Again, the WE starters for tonight. View is starting. Shie is starting. Stay is starting, and Kadaya. So we can actually filter the players. That might actually be a little bit easier for clarity's sake. Kadaya, then IG we have Zika, Neni. No, that's a jungler. It's a Shun, Yuakai, Wink, and Lucas. So a little bit easier way to kind of parse through this stuff. So yeah, Shie, Stay, Kadaya. Definitely like BB a lot for the top laners. I mean, actually both top laners have really solid numbers. Lucas isn't looking good. Looks like the IG bottom lane isn't looking great. Both mid laners are up there. I would expect, I mean, Shie only has the 1 series sample, but we saw them play pretty heavily through him. I think double mids is definitely an option. Double jungle isn't looking great, although Shun does have big numbers. I mean, the thing here with like the ADs are just gonna have such high kill share. I mean, Stay isn't looking great, but Wink is definitely such a crazy amount of kills. Again, only a 3-game sample, but I don't know. This is tough because we do have like interchanging rosters. We don't have much info on Shie, View, and Wink. So that's it. We can look at wins maybe. This is obviously going to be a lot less sample. We have one Shie win, 2 stay wins. So yeah, I mean, it's looking like Team WE played through topside a lot more. It looks like all of IG are in between 60 and 70, so it looks like they're just kind of grouping up. So I mean, it's looking like the IG stacks are going to be much better. Yeah, I mean, overall, I think if you want to get different and do like a double mid captain, it's definitely looking viable. I think a double jungle captain is also looking viable. We don't have anything for view here for wins, so we'll just probably leave it at all results. Even then, this is not much sample, so again, it's pretty unlikely. Like if we were to look at like IG stats, like I know Winks only had 1 series, right? So yeah, if we were to look at like on stats, he had a 130 win and an 80 win. Uakai, let's see what they were doing. He had a 130 and an 80 also, so he's not looking bad. He had a 124 and a 90, so he has outperformed the mid and 80 once here. 95 in the most recent one, 125. I believe, what was this one? Yeah, 111. So Wink's numbers aren't actually looking that great for a captain. I don't know. Again, 2-gamer, not a lot of places to get creative. You're probably going to be duplicated like no matter what you do, unless you do something really random. But I think there's a lot of options tonight. I think a lot of things are open. I don't mind the like going down to double jungle. I don't mind going down to double mid. Double ADs are probably going to be super popular, but I don't think that's... I'm just not playing a 2-gamer to split to first place 900 ways, you know. I'd imagine double mids are still going to be duped, but probably a lot less. Double mids might not even be duped in single entry, maybe. I'm not sure. People play single entry pretty cash gamey, so getting a little different in single entry separates you a lot. So I think double mid's definitely viable. That's probably what I'm looking at. Although I might throw in like a double jungle. I might throw in an LGD IG stack. Definitely another thing. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of possibilities, a lot of things open. I think it's actually like a relatively good 2-gamer. Again, I normally take these off. So if you guys don't see a video from me tomorrow, you know, you probably know why. These 2-gamers, typically I'm just not wanting to play unless I think there's like a fun aspect that I like and want to look forward to. And I do think the Team WE underdog shot and then also just mixing and matching these positions is going to be an interesting night. So I'm looking forward to it. Good luck to you guys all tonight. Don't know when I'll see you guys. Probably be in a few days when we get the 4-gamers back at least. So I'll probably see you guys then. Thank you guys for tuning in.